Hey guys, I want to talk about sexology, and more specifically the history of sexology, and even more specifically the history of sexology. Please keep watching, it is interesting, I swear. Or at least, I find it interesting. Sexology is the scientific study of sex which emerged in Europe in the late 19th century. A lot of old white dudes decided that they wanted to write about sex in order to understand it better and educate other people about it. There's this cliched perception of the Victorians that they were sexually repressed and really prude, and these sexologists were trying to eliminate their ignorance, and they viewed themselves as this progressive, liberating force. The first historians of sexology took these sexologists' self-congratulatory tales at face value, saying that the sex manuals that these men wrote had a positive impact on people's sexual knowledge, attitude, behaviour, and identity. But then we get to the 1970s and historians and philosophers start to criticise these old theories. This is what we call postmodernism, or POMO for short. No POMO. Actually, yes POMO, because postmodernism is great. They said that it was impossible to understand the impact of sexology if you just accept its own evaluation of its history. Also, it turns out that the Victorians weren't repressed at all. The 19th century saw a discursive explosion around the topic of sex. Society had many different ways of talking about the topic in politics, in biology, in psychology, in law, in birth control, in ethics, in art. So many different ways, and sexology is just one of these ways. But because of its association with the scientific profession, it was the most influential. So if the Victorians were already talking about sex, then they didn't need liberating in the first place. And what sexology actually did was it used language to take charge of sex and to control it. And so sexology wasn't a liberating force, it was oppressive. These postmodernist theories influenced a lot of feminist scholars in the 1980s, who argued that sexology was a misogynistic tool of the patriarchy. In the late 19th century, a lot of feminists were protesting against the double standard, which meant that prostitutes were blamed for the spread of venereal disease and not men who just had natural sexual urges that needed to be satisfied. What sexology did was it reinforced these ideas with the backing of science. It removed the subject of sex from the political arena and put it under the protection of science. So according to sexology and according to science, women are naturally and biologically passive, and men are naturally and biologically active. You can see why the feminists are pissed off. But since the 1980s, these postmodernist and feminist theories have also been criticised for being too simplistic and not taking into account human agency. No matter what we think of these sex manuals in the present day by our standards, what's more important is how the people who read them at the time understood them. What impact did these sex manuals have on people's lives, if any at all? The main question that historians are asking now is, are bodies and their pleasures independent of the ways that language characterizes them? Or do we require linguistic and cultural representation in order to interpret bodily experience? What I've just effectively given you a presentation about is a summary of the introduction to my dissertation. If you would like to know more, I uploaded it to Google Docs, and there is a link in the description if you want to check it out. It is really long. It's 12,000 words, but if you do read it, then that's amazing, and I love you, and I would love to know what you think in the comments. Do you think that sexology was liberating? Do you think it was oppressive? Or are you every humanities student ever? And your answer is, well, it depends. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it.